Did Jesus teach that you should submit to governing authorities? I'm not saying to go to war with them, but did he say to do that? No. But the church, the churches, most especially that Roman Empire there, will tell you that no, he did. Paul said it. Right. Okay. So, see, that's where all the confusion and all of the misleading has been done. Not just with women, but when it comes to even Paul's own writings contradict from one verse to the next. So some scribe was toying, some Roman Empire was toying with his writings so that God wouldn't reign and man would be deceived by the beast that would then come along and say, we're Christianity. But John literally said, do not love the world or anything in the world. If anyone loves the world, love for the Father is not in them. For everything in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, comes not from the Father, but from the world. Everything that we live under is the same Roman Empire, just with more technology today. And it's all you serving man. It is. And it all comes down to this. A ton of churches think that Paul, what he says, that Roman Empire, Roman Catholic Church, puts Paul before Jesus. Because it served that empire to continue to rule. See, from the beginning, God has been trying to rule. And at one point, even in the Old Testament, he was ruling over the Israelites. He was the king. And you know how minimal their government was? It was like minimal to nothing. A few judges. It's pretty much it. But then the Israelites, and this would be 350, 400 years after Exodus. The Israelites said, we want a monarchy. We want a human king. And as angry as God was, he gave them it. Because they have free will. And they chose man being king over God. Then move forward many, 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 many hundreds of years, and Jesus comes. And what did Jesus say? Give to Caesar's what is Caesar's. Give to God what is God. He was never telling you to serve both masters. He was here to tell you which master you should want to serve. But if you continue to choose to serve Caesar, then don't think that by going to church on Sunday you somehow have made God happy. You've only shown him that you have an undivided loyalty. Or a divided loyalty. And Jesus taught of a undivided loyalty. It's either God's way or man's way. It's up to the people to decide. He wasn't saying to go to war with the government, but he was, in all honesty, Jesus did come. He was destroying the empire. However, the Jewish leaders weren't getting it. Why? Because they didn't want to surrender to God the way God wanted it done. Same problem today, just with more technology. Even Paul himself writes in Romans, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. But then in the next verse, He taught that government officials are God's servants meant to maintain order, promoting a form of social responsibility within a secular system while maintaining ultimate loyalty to Christ. No, you can't. You can't. I'm not saying God is against money or any of that, but who has all of it? All of the people that are running every system, they've created their own kingdom. And of course, the wealthy and the powerful and the tech giants and the C-suite and all the universities, their empire serves them. Because they chose to worship themselves, to worship their institutions, to worship their denominations, to worship their professions, to just everything to do not with God. So what the world has shown God is that you chose this kingdom you live in because you continue to serve. You continue to have a divided loyalty, and you want to then blame God and say, look at the world you created. No, you all created it. You did it. This is all your own fault. People sooner wanted to follow the Roman Empire. And all they ever do is quote Paul. Paul. That's who they follow. They don't follow Jesus. They follow Paul. Because if they followed Jesus, this wouldn't even exist. It wouldn't exist. Because based under just Jesus's writings, it couldn't. They needed Paul to create their bullshit. But that's what Satan does. And what does the world do? The world doesn't want to see that. The world just continues to blame God for the world they live in, for how bad it is, never looking at this is your problem. When you decide you want to stop serving all of your when you want to realize that this is where it all stemmed from, then maybe you'll get closer to realizing that you cannot have divided loyalties. Going to church on Sunday to your little fancy Rome Empire house while serving the government system isn't God's empire. That's not God's kingdom. God has nothing to do with it. Nowhere is God in any of it. It's all man. All the brotherhoods, the secret societies, all man wanting their own kingdom, but then having the audacity to want to blame God because the world is so messed up and lacks empathy and lacks love. Yeah, well, that's what you get. You all worship yourself. You wanted it both ways. You wanted to have your own kingdom, not the kingdom that God wanted to give. Because what, you assume you just won't have the best, you won't be the most powerful? Well, yeah, all of you C-suite executives, all of you church, leaders of all your different religions and denominations, what have you done in the world? You have all followed Paul. That's who you worship. You pushed Jesus to the side and said, no, I'm not going to surrender to him because that's what he taught me. He taught me to surrender to him, that I must surrender all to him. But this world came along and said, well, we know we can do it better than God. So God said, have at it. Go ahead. And let the whole world believe that it somehow follows me while it continues to serve Satan.